Hello and welcome to week 3 of writing for social media. One thing I wanted to mention here as we begin is that I have a weird setup of my my screen and how everything's shared. So the camera is actually up on top of another camera in front of me, but the screen is on my laptop anyway due to some of my home computer issues. And so if I look down during this presentation, that's why I'm looking down, because I'm looking down at the screen, which is actually at the bottom. So if I look down at the screen now, you can tell that my head dips down. So it's not that I don't want to be looking into the camera and looking at you during all this. It's that sometimes I have to look at what's on the screen. And with anything, I probably should get a better setup at some point. But at the moment, this is what we have, so we're going to go with it. Okay, so this week we have a lot, and there's a lot of assignments to this week, a lot of reading to this week, a lot of experimenting with different things. So please don't procrastinate on this week. Make sure you're working on this week and really focusing on the assignments that you have. Please don't get behind here in week 3. This week we are talking about writing specifically for social media. Although the writing that is done will often change depending on what the platform is. But there's some basic overview comments that we need to make about writing for social media. We're going to look at social media jobs. There's a lot of jobs out there that involve social media, either writing for social media, or managing social media, or marketing for social media, or business for social media. And I want you to have an opportunity to start looking for some of those jobs, either through Google or Indeed or any of the job posting sites. See what's out there. See what kind of job that you might be interested in having in social media, and maybe you don't have any interest at all, and that's fine. I still want you to look and see if there's specific things that are included in those job posts that you can start adding to what you have. So maybe the job post asks that you know how to use Photoshop. Well, maybe you've never used Photoshop before, so maybe that's something to be thinking about, looking at some tutorial videos online, or there's a lot of free classes out there that you can take on how to use different things, and you learn how to use Photoshop, so that if you wanted to apply to that job, for example, you could say, yes, I know how to use Photoshop, and you do. So you want to start looking at those, and that's why I'm having you look at them as for one of the assignments for this week. And then the third piece is really on this free graphic design website called Canva. Now there's a free and there's a paid, and you absolutely just use the free for the purposes of this class. And after this week, you never have to use it again if you don't want to. But Canva does provide a lot of free templates on ways to improve your social media. You can actually, somebody last semester in one of my classes created their banner in LinkedIn, for example, in Canva, and was able to put a lot of different graphs and graphics and things like that than they would otherwise. So I want you to just set an account and have some experience working with Canva in case that is something that would be helpful to you in the future of your social media life. So those are our 3 main topics for today. That's why there are so many assignments and why there's a lot going on this week, more so than in the other weeks. Okay, let's first start off by talking about writing for social media. Now, writing for social media is very different than academic writing. You're not writing essays. You are writing specific words that are needed for each of these social media platforms. Now, the very first link is how to write for social media, and I'm going to show it to you on the screen. And again, I'm going to glance down every once in a while to make sure I'm talking about the right information. But there's this idea between active voice and passive voice. Often in academic essays, we write in passive voice. Science, the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, math, often writes in the passive voice. But social media is really active voice. I did this. We went here. We did da-da-da-da-da-da. So you really want to make your post, whether to promote something that you yourself are doing or for a business, a very I-centered focus in your writing, not academically focused. You also want to think about who is your audience. We talked about demographics one of the previous weeks. Demographic of Facebook, 35 to 50. you're going to address that demographic differently than an 18 to 24 age group, right? 18 to 24, maybe you're making a post about partying and going out and having fun. Well, the 35 to 50 group is much more settled with families and children, and a post about going out and going to parties and having fun is not going to be as appealing to me as it might be to an 18-year-old. So you want to think about who is your target audience in whatever you're writing for social media. You want to write things that people want to share. Sharing and retweeting and resharing is huge on social media. How many retweets can you get? How many Facebook shares can you get? How many, Instagram exactly retweets, reshares are you getting on things? So you want to write something that is accessible and that people are interested in. Now again, that's going to look different depending on what your purpose is, but you do want to think about what can you include. Now, a lot of writing for social media is that it's the intersection between images and text. Almost all social media is going to have some images, and that's another reason why we're using Canva, because Canva makes it very easy to manipulate images in a lot of different ways. So you want to be thinking about images. Images are incredibly important. They are part of writing. Yes, are we actually writing on our images? Well, we might be, right? But we might be doing memes, right? Or GIFs or things like that maybe have writing on them. But definitely how you bring images in with text. You really want to think about that in social media writing. You want to feel connected to others. You really want to have people connect to what you're writing about, right? So here's, a dog, pathos. If you go back to freshman composition or whatever class you had as kind of freshman writing and learning about ethos, logos, and pathos, it goes back to that. How can you make that pathos, that emotional connection with your audience? Okay, so people feel connected, and then it goes through really here on different ways of like how do you tweet, how do you write for Facebook, what's going to happen, how can you bring like Stranger Things, if you're a big fan of Stranger Things, you bring in a movie still or a TV still from that, and then you use that to have that bring your springboard so that you catch people's attention by using that. All these things are social media focused, and they're part of writing because you've got to think about what words are you going to bring to attach with these images to create meaning, right? What are your titles going to be? Like NFL, 18 days until the regular season begins, and then you have obviously your image here, but 18 days. Well, you're like, okay, oh my goodness, 18 days, that's almost now. So you start getting excitement about it as opposed to if it was just like, soon the regular season will begin. But that 18 days, that specific information really brings people start thinking about, oh, okay, that's soon, or 9 days or whatever. That is what you're thinking about as you're thinking about how you're writing for social media. How do you structure a headline that it gets people's attention? And it also has little cones and blah, 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 okay? So you want to be clear and concise. I always think about English majors. I'm like, everything that makes you an English major, English majors don't do. We want short, sweet, and to the point in social media writing in most cases. Facebook probably has some of the longest ones because you can write almost a whole blog post. But in general, you don't want long-winded paragraphs. You want short, sweet, to the point. You want to avoid pushy topics. You want to think about something, how are people going to get interested in it? Those of you who are really good at writing headlines and titles that really get people interested, social media writing is your jam. I'm awful with titles, but I still love social media writing. Anyway, and then it gives you a whole bunch of different ways. Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google Plus is not a thing anymore, but some ideas of how to write for those. So those are included here on how to write for social media. I also have social media writing tips for businesses. How do you sell your product, highlight your business, etc., etc. Hashtags, super important on Twitter and on Instagram. How to use hashtags. How do you know what to use in hashtags? There's actually on one of the sources, I think it might be this first one, there is a hashtag optimizer. Let's see. Yep, hashtag find me. If you want to find what hashtags are currently trending, and so that you can have a post where you can add that in, there you go. You can use that and find those. So that is another on hashtags. Okay, So I'm going to switch over to Canva. I realize this is rushed with Screencast-O-Matic, which I'm currently using to record these. I only get 15 minutes. So I've got 10 or 5 more minutes here. So Canva, okay, this is Canva. It's linked. You log in. Again, it can be your email. It can be your back email. It can be whatever email you want. And you're going to go click on social media. It's right here with the little conversation square with the little heart. And when you click on social media, you will see that you have a lot of different options. Instagram post, Facebook post, Instagram story, TikTok, YouTube thumbnail, Pinterest, YouTube channel art, social media, Twitter post, LinkedIn banner, Facebook event cover, Facebook ad, etc., that you can create. You can create any of these that you want. It is absolutely up to you what you create. If you click on it, for example, if I want to do like LinkedIn banner, you click on it and it brings you to this page where you can see there are a whole bunch of different options that you can choose. Some of them in the corner will say free, like that one's free. This one with a little crown, those are the pro ones that you have to pay for, but there are plenty of free options. So if I wanted that one, for example. Okay, so here it is, and then I can just click in it and I can type what I want to type and you can experiment with this. If you don't want to use a template, that's perfectly okay. You can take this and you can change the background, you can change the colors, they have a lot of free, if you click on elements, which is over here, you can't really see, but there's an elements, there's a lot of different shapes, there's a lot of different graphics that you can use, and you can really create what you want to create. So I want you to create a social media, something in social media in Canva so you get that idea. This is actually what I created for this summer to advertise this class. I realize it's really small, but it was an infographic for this class, writing for social media, and it had all the different ones that we were going to go over, and I created that completely within Canva. So there's a lot of options in Canva. This is obviously not for social media, but you have a lot of social media ones. So go explore Canva and figure out different things that you want to do within that. Okay, jobs. So last time I taught this class, which was last spring, I looked up jobs at that point and I put them on a page that you can go look at. There's like a public relations and marketing assistant. This was in Charlotte. Upload weekly story ad to Facebook and boost to predetermined audiences. They're looking specifically for Facebook, and that you're going to be uploading the ad. Assist marketing manager preparing for video shoots. Monitoring, creating social media posts twice weekly. They also had Instagram that they were looking at. They just wanted you to have a bachelor's degree. Oftentimes they'll have like requirements, and then if you don't exactly meet the requirements, you can still often apply. Anyway, you can go through those. They wanted you to have here that you know how to use Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, and InDesign. Those all cost money, although there is a student version of them, but you can find out a lot about how to use them through YouTube and through various how-to videos. And then there are some opportunities to use Photoshop here on campus. Just let me know if that's something you're interested in. There are a couple computers that have it on it. How to use Google Sheets, Slides, Docs, social media experience. This class is giving you social media experience, so you can actually count that towards your jobs. Copywriting, so editing, those type of things. Here's a digital meeting marketing specialist. Again, this one, that's the minimum, is that you have working knowledge of bulk email platforms, which we are not talking about, but that you also know about social media, video, etc. That you know about Facebook ads. Again, if you don't know anything about Facebook ads, but this job looks like something you're interested in, there's a lot of ways to find out about Facebook ads and best practices on using them. Again, experience using the Adobe products, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Again, there are opportunities to learn how to use them. If this is something that you really want to go into, you probably want to buy the student package for these. That is, it's expensive, but it's not incredibly expensive. I'll post in the modules as well what the cost is to do the student version of them. Anyway, So these are, these are just examples. Don't use the ones that I found. Go find your own. Google social media, writing for social media jobs, or, in Charlotte or wherever you want, wherever you're from, you're moving.